Well, Darren and I have gotten a lot of questions over the last couple of months about 2012 input costs because we're finding many farmers are starting to sell their 2012 crop already, and I can't blame them. We've started just a little bit on our farm too, not much, but a little bit, because you say, boy, that price is really good. I know I'm gonna have the land. I know I'm gonna have a certain amount of cost that's already built into this thing, but the biggest cost that a lot of farmers are questioning is how about seed, fertilizer, and ag chemicals?
Well, of course, everyone wants to know where the grain market's gonna go too. We don't know all those things.
That's
I mean, there's lots of things that can change.
That's why you sell ahead. That's why you sell ahead. So if you're going to start selling ahead, you probably want to start locking in some of your input costs.
You know, and it goes both ways. If you're not gonna buy inputs, then don't be selling a whole bunch of grain. If you're not gonna be marketing any grain, then why lock in your inputs now? And that grain price could really fall off, and all of a sudden, wow, I've got a cost of production at $3.50, say, for corn, and all of a sudden that grain price drops back to $3. Now, I know that sounds a little unrealistic right now, but you never know what could happen. So let's look at specific inputs like seed brand. That's the one that I really get excited about because, you know, fertility, you can buy the fertilizer right now. A lot of guys don't buy their seed until after harvest. When you see how these varieties did, where do you see the seed going?
Yeah, I'm not that worried about seed costs going up a whole lot. Sure, the brand new numbers that come out, they're probably going to take a good jump. They might be up 10 to 20%. But I think some of the older numbers are either going to be flat to maybe even slightly down. So overall, I'd expect with seed, whether it's corn or soybeans, many of the different seeds that you can buy out there, probably on average a 5 to 10% increase. Not a real big deal. Like in soybeans, if you were spending $35 to $40 this year, you might spend in the range of possibly as much as $40 to $45 next year. It's not so much that the companies want to charge that much more, it's just that the soybean cost, if you looked at what the companies could lock in their seed cost for last fall versus this year, you're talking roughly about $4 more. You know, you go $9 soybeans to $13 soybeans. Well, just like that, they have no choice. Even if they keep all their fees and royalties and everything else the same, the cost of the raw material went up $4.
All right, well, speaking about raw materials, when we look at ag chemicals, a lot of times you see, well, when the oil market is high, you know, there's a lot of petroleum products that end up getting used in the ag chemical industry, and so it seems like their costs have gone up. They've got to bring those prices up a little, don't they,
well,
Brian?
It's not just the cost of the raw materials, it's the cost of transportation to truck those around the country. I would expect on ag chemicals too, probably a 5 to 10% increase. I don't expect a 50% jump or anything like that. Now, granted, there could be a handful of products that go up quite a bit, but most things I think will be up 5 to 10%. So the average guy is only spending $20 an acre on ag chemicals, so you're talking a $1 to $2 an acre increase. It just really amounts to nothing. On both the seed and the ag chemical side, you know, grand total, if you spend $10 an acre more next year than you did this year, that's probably about it.
All right, well, let's get into the big cost then, because this is where it really comes down to is fertilizer prices. And when we talk about fertilizer, it is such a huge component of what we do, especially when we're talking about a crop, a high input crop like corn or wheat. You know, that fertilizer can make a big difference. All right, prognosticator, where is this going?
Well, if you tell me what the oil industry is going to do, basically what oil prices are going to do, and what commodity prices are going to do, I can tell you pretty close what's going to happen with fertilizer prices. So in other words, what I'm trying to say here is if commodity prices and oil prices hold where they're at today, I'd expect fertilizer from fall of 2010 to fall of 2011 going up 30–40%.
Wow.
I mean, big time, okay? But if commodity prices and oil prices happen to drop by fall or certainly by next spring, you could see those fertilizer prices being even a little bit less than what they were in the fall of 2010. We just really don't know. Overall, I'm guessing that fertilizer prices are going to be up fall 2011 versus fall 2010.
When we're talking about input costs for next year, it's fine to lock some in right now. If you're doing that, you should probably be selling some grain, so you're covering yourself on that aspect. With the input costs, we expect the seed to maybe take just a little bit of jump, especially on the newer items. On the chemicals, kind of the same thing. The costs are going up, especially on transportation and moving that product around the country. We expect those prices will be up slightly for next year, but the fertilizer is the one that's really up in the air. Depending on what happens with commodity prices and also with the oil market, we could see a good jump in fertility, so we need to be prepared.
Well, one of the reasons why we need to be prepared is our weed of the week is going to be as tough as ever to control. We'll talk about how you can stop it on your farm coming up later in the show.